Pan-African Standard Bank Group says it looks to lift 1 million African women out of poverty in the first phase of its strategic financial inclusion program, aimed at alleviating the disadvantages women face on the continent. The bank, operating in some 25 African markets, looks to expand financial inclusion for women by providing cheaper and faster access to finance. Speaking to Channel's Business News editor Bosun Omofayade, just concluded Africa's CEO Forum in Geneva, Switzerland. The head of Africa region at Standard Bank Group, Mrs. Shola David Boha, explains other key challenges women in Africa face in business, governance, environment, and infrastructure.
It's a very important topic, and the Standard Bank Group is very focused on financial inclusion, which is extending financial services to the unbanked, and women constitute a large proportion of the unbanked. Standard Bank Group has set up incubators, in South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, Mozambique, which basically aims at helping to support, coach, mentor, and train women entrepreneurs. And the idea is to provide the women, with the support that they need. Standard Bank has also partnered with Lioness South Africa, an NGO, to raise 1 million female entrepreneurs across the continent. So it's an important initiative. Women suffer a lot from access to finance, and being given the opportunities to actually build businesses and also get the appropriate value for the services they provide.
It is said that women are the next investment vehicle. Everyone should invest now. So, in what areas specifically, in the area of perhaps in business and enterprise and SMEs, do you see across Africa, Standard Chartered, that you see the need for more financial inclusion and financial deepening for the women of all categories?
Yes, so I think you mean Standard Bank. And I believe, women are very enterprising, African women. They are the backbone of agriculture in Africa. So you find out that most of the farmers are actually women. They're also the backbone of trading in Africa. And you would find that in terms of many of the distributors to the larger multinationals and larger corporates, that a significant proportion are women. So the idea is to make sure that we enable women as much as possible in their chosen areas or fields. We, as much as possible, try and provide financial services to them that is affordable, that they're able to easily use. So some of the electronic channels that we have, for instance, mobile money is an example, that women can basically use to either collect money or make payments. And, we continue to engage the women, and I believe capacity building is also an important part of our contribution.
When governments across Africa talk about social empowerment of the people, what they call the social benefits, social security, safety net, what role do you think the government is doing its best, but what roles do you think commercial banks with Pan-Africa spread like yours can play in helping to leverage what the government is doing at various levels?
So I think if you look at the African continent, one of the major deficits is infrastructure. We're talking power, we're talking roads, and if that infrastructure is made available, you'll find out that the women actually need very little help. Now, Standard Bank is an active participant in attracting capital, both foreign direct investment, foreign portfolio investments, into the African continent to help finance infrastructure projects and ultimately to drive Africa's growth. If you give the women water, light, and they have access roads, they'll be fine.
So the basic necessities of life is what the women need to move forward. But again, about how much are you investing across Africa, or you've invested across Africa, or you look to expand into helping women at various levels across the continent this year and perhaps in the next foreseeable future?
Like I said, we are partnering to create 1 million women entrepreneurs. And this is a combination of capacity building, providing, finance as well, and coaching and mentoring. We are not going to be able to give you an exact figure, but to just let you know that 1 million number, which is a fairly significant number across the continent, is a goal that we are committed to achieving.
Finally, if you look across the continent, in what jurisdictions do you think there is more of urgent need in terms of your interventions, that you think perhaps this West Africa, East Africa, or Central Africa, that you think there should be more very quick interventions and might be on the side of the government to help scale up what assistance in financial inclusion and financial deepening that the women really need?
The Standard Bank is in 20 countries on the continent, spanning West, East, Southern, and Central Africa. And you'll find that the large cities, where you have large markets, so Lagos, Kenya, Mozambique, Angola to some extent, South Africa, that have large cities, you have significant number of women, who live in those cities. Also, countries that have large agricultural populations, which includes Nigeria as well. It includes Kenya with the tea plantations, have women working on these farms. And therefore, we believe that intervention into those high-density areas would make a greater impact than focusing on maybe countries that are not that densely populated, and the intervention is not as urgent.
David Boha, CEO Stanbic IBTC. Meanwhile, Atedo Peterside has resigned from the board of Stanbic IBTC Bank PLC as the chairman. He served as the chief executive of the bank from inception in 1989 and until the merger that created Stanbic IBTC Bank PLC in 2007, and as chairman thereafter. Quoting his letter, he says, "We have a strong tradition of careful succession planning at both Stanbic IBTC and the Standard Bank Group. I look forward to a new chapter where my interactions with Stanbic IBTC will be exclusively from the outside and or from Johannesburg. That is, looking in from the outside, like every other parent company non-executive does when looking at all the group subsidiary operations across the Africa regions." According to him, the bank's protracted dispute with the Financial Reporting Council led him to stay on as group chairman in Nigeria for much longer than he would have liked, as everything was on course for his planned departure in 2015 from the Stanbic IBTC Holdings PLC board, following an appointment to the board of Standard Bank Group Limited and the Standard Bank of South Africa Limited in August 2014. In other news, the federal government says it would construct a second runway at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in the next 24 months in a bid to forestall future closure of the airport. The government also plans to use Nigerian Airlines and some foreign carriers to operate from the Kaduna International Airport to London, following the refusal of international airlines like British Airways and Lufthansa to fly into Kaduna. The Minister of State for Aviation, Senator Hadri Sika, said the proposed runway should be ready in 24 months, and he's hopeful that it will get the required approval from the Federal Executive Council. Well, we'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll look at the markets. Do stay with us.